Hello and welcome to another LEGO MOC Showcase video. This is another full-size wrestling belt and this is the WWE Undisputed Championship. So after the fun and success of making the first belt, I knew I had to make a second one. And I've already done a YouTube short of this, so this isn't exactly new, but this is my all-time favourite wrestling belt design, so this was an easy pick. Now when it comes to showcasing this model, I have basically decided to cut this in half. The strap is done in the same way as the previous belts, so I'm going to try and put a lot of focus on the plates themselves. To follow on a point from the previous belt MOC video, these are a little bit awkward to hold and quite heavy as well. So if you see me holding this in any awkward position, just know I'm trying to keep it as comfortable as possible. But starting off with the main center plate, I think I've done a pretty good job, because this isn't one of those belts that has texturing in every empty space. There's a lot of detail and just style on the main plate itself, but there's enough for me to be able to replicate that in LEGO. I think the best thing going on is how I've been able to write champion using white tiles along the bottom. Now a couple of details on this belt, including that champion plate there, is 3D, so you can kind of see there anyways, where this tile is one layer above most of the rest of the plate. And I think that's the best because it allows me to have a black background, and I'm actually quite amazed at how I was able to make champion in this tiny font text possible. The globe in the middle is not bad, but it was a lot worse. There were more black plates surrounding it because I didn't have enough yellow at the time, and I also remembered I have yellow lining tape. So the thick sort of squarish ones are Lego tiles, but these thin, smooth yellow lines are model lining tape. So I was thinking about going back and changing it so it's all thin model lining tape, but I don't think that would quite work as well. So it's kind of interesting to how that works, and of course it is still Lego, so it's going to have that textured detail there anyways, but it's a nice balance between the two. Above that we have the ribbon that says World Wrestling Entertainment. Again, that is done with yellow tiles, and that has been written out by hand onto some yellow paper and applied with double-sided tape onto the tiles themselves. So I can remove that if I really wanted to, it's not permanent in any way. So now that I have repositioned to give my right arm a bit of a break, the next main big detail is the eagle along the top. That is supposed to be an eagle with its wings out. It's not the best thing when it comes to translating it into Lego, but I think I did an alright job. Now this was actually amended earlier today when another Bricklink parcel arrived. Now this is done, if I bring this forward, by using a bunch of 1x1 tiles. Half of them are square-ended and the other half are circle-ended. Now it kind of has a good texturing, but the only problem is I don't quite like this. It's supposed to be feathers because obviously there's so many feathers kind of stacked on top of each other when you look at a wing kind of open like that. Now previously I had this, but I had one of these end pieces and a 1x2 tile to give the wing a bit of length. Well, not so much the wing, but the actual feather themselves. And it was fine in a way, but because of how compact this little space is, again, given the texture and details when it comes to making something like this out of Lego, I wasn't settled on either one. I think I'm more happy with this particular design because it's something that I made earlier today. So the recency bias is definitely there. And again, it's more texturing, so to say. Not the easiest thing to do with Lego. But at the same time, looking at the overall design for the center plate, I think this is pretty good. The overall shape is there. Some of the extra swirly details are done with 1x1 circle tiles. And yeah, it's such a good design. And now we get to have a look at the side plates. Now these are the same on both sides, so I'm going to cover them on one side, which is basically these three here. There are also a couple of new details I've added to this belt that weren't originally on the first one, so I'll cover those as well on this section here. So first of all, side plates, and there are more of them on this belt to the other one. There are 5 side plates in total, 3 on this side, and 2 on this, well, given how it's folded up, it's 2 on the other side. There is a sort of bonus mini plate on the very end on one side, but I'll get to that in just a moment. So the first one, closest to the main center plate, is this. And this is supposed to be the McMahon family crest. That's hella cool, because having your own family crest on a World Championship belt, come on, that's a real cool hustle thing to do. Now, it's supposed to be a lion holding a shield of sorts, if I can visualize it correctly. And the details here are supposed to be like a flower wreath. But translating that to Lego wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be. The line itself in the middle was the hard part. but trying to get a good look at the body and the meat. The thing is, when I made this, and you can see it here, it looks like the purple guy from Five Nights at Freddy's. Look at this, how he's kind of standing. You see that too, right? That was definitely not intended, but I think that's also rather funny. But as a kind of detailed plate, I'm actually quite happy with the end result. I'm going to need to have a look to see if I can get some red 1x1 heart tiles, because these 2x2 red tiles here to represent the flower head looks bland. It would be nice to get a little bit more texture in, you know? And just like on the center plates and all the other plates, there are these little swirl represented details with some round yellow 1x1 tiles here. It's quite ornate. This is one of the main things as to why I love this belt design so much. But moving on to the middle, well, middle for this side, but the sort of outer side plates, it's the same overall shape, again, very ornate looking, and this is supposed to be a shield of sorts with the WWE logo in the middle there. I might have to look into getting a custom tile print for that, and I do know just the shop. Shout out to Way Too Many Bricks. This is a kind of a simple design in a way, and it was a brave choice to make it this thin. It really does look thin. I think if this was 5 wide or even 6 wide, the shield might look better because, you know, a bulky shield looks cool. This is, again, quite slender, quite thin. But it doesn't take away from the fact that I was able to translate that quite well. And moving on to the final plate, it is only present on one of the 2 strap sides, and it is a very similar design as to what was on the main outer plate. Now, I don't remember what was supposed to go on that shield detail, but it was basically a similar version of what this was supposed to be. I might have to look into getting another print done as well because, you know, why not? It adds more detail. And the final detail is this extra side plate that was only on one side of the 2 straps. Now, this is supposed to be very similar to this plate here. I can't remember what goes in the middle, and I do need to look it up and maybe get another printed tile sorted out. And in its own weird way, it looks like Batman's sort of cowl with a big old chin. It's, yeah, I mean, translating things to Lego can be quite difficult sometimes, but given the overall design here, I think I did alright. And yeah, it's just really cool to see a wrestling belt with so many side plates. I'll get a full shot near the end of the video, but one thing that comes to mind every now and then when I look at this kind of belt design is a version of the TNA Impact, whatever it's called nowadays. It's not Global Force Wrestling anymore, I know that much. That kind of collapsed. But there was a version of their World Championship that had 3 side plates on each side, and that was the most beautiful belt I've ever seen outside of WWE. Well, barring AEW's World Championship and the IWGP Heavyweight Championship version 4. Those are golden glories. But there are just so many good belts, and in my opinion, the more side plates, the better. So one of the 2 new details I've added to this belt, which I have now gone and added to the previous belt, are, first of all, the stitching details across the entire length of the strap. Top and bottom, of course. Now, when it comes to making a real belt, of course, the strap is made out of leather, and depending on how it's made, you are going to need to use a bit of stitching to attach both sides of the strap together. It's a bit of a lengthy process and not something I'm going to mention here, but in terms of adding more realistic detail to this model, I think that makes it stand out quite a lot. So these are 1x2 rounded end plates, what would you call them? I don't know. There is official names for every kind of brick out there. But thankfully, there were a load of these on my Lego Store Pick-a-Brick wall, so I thought, you know what, let's give that a try. And the reason why I went with the rounded edge plates is because it's just that tiny extra bit of detail. So when you put your finger along these sort of 1x2 plate bits to represent the stitching, you can, well, obviously you can't because this is, you know, in my hands only, but there is more texturing. It's just that little extra something to make it pop just a little bit more. And at the end of each strap is the button clip strip. Oh, the name escapes me. I had this earlier today. So, of course, when it comes to putting on a real belt, well, nowadays with WWE at least, it's all Velcro. And that's boring. And quite awkward and loud when you go to actually take off the strap. This is just so much more professional. And in terms of capturing detail, it's a lot easier for me to do with Lego too. So this is a 2x4. Again, I'm going to use the term clip strip. I can't remember what it's actually called for the real thing. But it definitely just makes it look a bit more realistic compared to the bland. So if I actually fold this in, compared to that, that's boring. This looks more textured. Again, it does overlap a little bit, so it's not the cleanest look ever compared to the previous belts. But again, it's all these extra details that just make it look a little bit more realistic. And I just love this sort of thing so much. So here is a good full clean look at the championship belt. I've tucked in the ends of the strap so the focus is all on the plates. And I'm so happy with how this turned out. Again, this is my all-time favorite wrestling belt design, and I think I've done a pretty good job in translating this into Lego. And in my videos, I've said in countless of them saying, oh, I'm so happy with this MOC, yeah, this is so good, this is the best. Something I've seen recently with some builders, not just with Lego trains or belts or anything in particular, but every now and then I do come across someone who's made a model of something. It's some of the most detailed work I've ever seen them do, and they will still say, oh, it's not enough. What do you mean it's not enough? Look at what you've made, it's insane. So I just want to give a quick shout out to everybody who is in the Lego hobby, because it doesn't matter how detailed your model may be to others, your work is ever increasing, and when it comes to trying different things, you will be so gobsmacked and so surprised at what you are capable of. So thank you all ever so much for watching. In the description you can find plenty of links to my social media pages, including Flickr and Instagram for some sneak peeks and behind the scenes action. Also a link to my second channel where you can find more Luke Triton action outside of the Nerf and Lego Train hobbies. You can also find a link to my Discord server where you can chat with like-minded fans of Lego Trains and Nerf blasters. And I shall see you all in the next episode. The champ is here, and we've still got more belts to go. Take care everyone, thanks for watching.